Hey, and welcome back to Daily Justice. I'm your host, Dave Erickson. Thanks so much for watching. My guest today is Mark Hodgson, a family law attorney here in Spokane, Washington. I've been practicing for more than a decade, and you're here to talk about child custody. Mark, holistic approach versus a legal approach.
Well, a holistic approach would be kind of like what a counselor does. I mean, they look at, well, what's best for my client? And a legal approach kind of looks at what's best for your client in an adversarial process. And sometimes that's not what's good for kids. I think the ultimate one is counseling. Like, kids will go through divorce, and a lot of times we use counselors to find out what the kids are saying. Well, so what happens is these people, they have a horrible dispute, they hate each other, and they put their kids in counseling. Is that really a holistic approach? Is that what's best for the children? And sometimes it really isn't. I mean, you send a message to kids that maybe there's something wrong with them simply because their parents are having marital problems.
So you have the parents and you have the kids. So how do you know what's best for the kids in a situation like child custody?
It's incredibly difficult. I think that's something that you can run into huge problems with in this area, is just somebody looking at it only from the one side and not ever taking into account what kids need or what kids want. Kids in this process are from the age 1 to 18. That's where they stop. And there's a common thing that I would like to tell everybody. People ask me all the time, they say, when is my kid old enough to decide where they want to live? And I say 18. That is the law. It is 18. Folks, 18, not 12. There's this myth. It's 12. It's not 12. But when they are 12, they can give some input, and it is taken into account. And the way you do that would be like through an independent fact finder with the court, a guardian ad litem who would come and find things, and sometimes they're very helpful. But sometimes you can just ask for a guardian ad litem because that's what you do in a family law case, and it just ends up costing people a lot of money. So I think it's just one of those things where you look at it and you really do have to take both perspectives. You always advocate for your client. You zealously advocate for your client. But if you really are advocating for your client and don't consider the needs of children when you do it, it seems to me to be a very short-sighted way to practice law, and you're just guaranteeing that your client is going to come back to you.
Can you quickly identify which is the better approach, the holistic or legal, when someone comes to your office?
Well, you have to go legal. You can't do a holistic approach. There's a lawyer back in the day who said, do no harm. And it's an adversarial system. You are arguing on behalf of someone. So what I would say is don't ignore the needs of the children in your advocacy. You are always an advocate, and you have when you're arguing. But I think you can always get to what the children need, and you can encourage your client to do the right thing. I mean, one of the things I always say is, when I have a person saying, well, I want Mother's Day for the stepmother, my general response to that is find a new attorney. Just because I think Mother's Day is for the actual mothers. Same for Father's Day. You don't usurp those holidays. So I think when you look at the holistic approach, I think, yeah, there is a holistic approach, and therapy and stuff and what's right for kids is certainly going to come into play, and you don't ignore it in your advocacy. And I think that's the piece that comes at it. You always advocate for your client. You always have to advocate for the side of your client, but just don't ignore what's going on around you, because you're still doing a disservice to your client if they're back there the next year. Simply giving a dad, for instance, like 10 weeks in the summer when he only has 1 week of vacation every year. So you're going to go put kids in daycare for 9 weeks out of the summer just so he can say he had them? I mean, that's something you have to get through to your client, or at least try to get through to your client, that just simply getting time isn't necessarily what's best for the kids.
A very interesting topic. Mark, how can they find out more about your services and getting in touch with you?
One of the best ways to find out about us, just from an informational point of view, is our website. We also have a blog that's updated weekly with some very interesting topics. I know that this show is linked to our website. I believe we have several informational videos, and then you can also call our office and you can contact me. I do return phone calls. I'm in court quite a bit, but give me a call. I'll talk to you. And if you have questions, consultations are free.
All right, Mark, thanks very much for joining us here on Daily Justice.
Thanks, Dave.